Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And here we are back with award-winning author Larry Deiman. Now, he's written 2 books. He's working on his 3rd. The first one, very well known for, is Incident at the Historic Museum. And then the second book, Canyon Springs Wash Murders. And Larry's with us again. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing great today.
I lost your video. Where'd you go?
I don't know what happened to that.
Did you go back to the other room to work on your book? There you are. Okay, great.
There I am. No, I'm still in the dining room. Yes.
Yes, you're still in the writer's helm, so to speak.
I am. Yes.
You do your work. So you're working on the 3rd. What's the name of the 3rd book?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
I haven't come up with a book title yet. When I wrote the other 2 books, I didn't actually come up with the name of the book or the title of the book until the end of the book. Until after I finished writing it. Then I kind of had an idea, like for Canyon Springs Wash Murders, I kind of had an idea what it was going to be, what the title was going to be. But of course, by the end of the book, I changed it.
All right. So I'm going to guarantee right now that you already have a working title. You're thinking of a few right now.
I'm thinking of a few, yeah. But I don't want to say yet because I'm not sure what I'm going to end up with. But I have to come up with them before I send it to the publisher. So I will decide before the end of the book.
So we have Trevor and we have Jason, the 2 main characters of all the books.
Yes.
We touched upon this very briefly. And I know in the back of your mind, and anybody else would be thinking the same exact thing, but movie deal.
Yes.
Deal.
Exactly what I'm thinking.
Have you thought about actors that could potentially play Jason and Trevor?
Not yet. I know that I can't play either one of them because I'm too old. But I've had a couple of ideas of who I would like to see play a couple of these characters. And also Jeanette, who is the high price hooker, has to be a really gorgeous blonde.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, she's a high price hooker. I mean, she's got to look gorgeous, right?
Well, sure.
Jason falls in love with her, so
and she's
got to be
in the book.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
Jason and Jeanette meet in the first chapter of the first book. So they are having mad passionate sex, and then they kind of like each other or end up liking each other, and they decide they want to pursue a relationship, unbeknownst to Trevor. Trevor doesn't know this. Trevor thinks it's just, he paid for one night and that's what he got. Well, not exactly how it worked out.
He got more than he expected for whatever he paid.
Yeah, and all through the book, which is kind of interesting because I kept the suspense on that all the way through to the end of the book. Jason does not know what she does for a living. All throughout the book, he does not know what she does for a living. He in fact finds out what she does the day they're going to get married. And Trevor tells him. So I'm going to leave that where it's at because something happens that is expected, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it to the imagination of my readers, and then they can when they get to that part of the book. It's actually at the very end of the book.
Gotcha.
What actually happens? I mean, I don't know if I'm giving a spoiler alert that they do end up at the altar, but what happens when they are going to get married that day? I'm going to leave that to the suspense of the readers.
Is his buddy there?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. Well, he has to be. Yes, because Trevor does tell Jason at his wedding just minutes before he's going to get married what she does for a living or what she did for a living, and his reaction isn't all that unexpected. He had no idea that she was a whore, as he put it. So his reaction is rather expected, but I'll leave it to your imagination what happens next.
All right. So this is outside of the book, but if you were in that situation just to get married, you're at the altar, your friend divulges that information, would you still get married?
I don't know. Depends, if I really love the girl, I might be able to look past that. But I'm not sure if I would or not.
Hmm.
I mean, I was never put in that position, that situation.
Yeah.
And Jason's true character, my friend, wasn't in that situation. I kind of added that. But
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Stop. Rewind.
rewind, not gonna say.
All right. Let me
All
make
right.
sure I have that right. So Jason, who is he set him up.
Mhm.
Okay.
Trevor
He
sent Jason up.
Trevor set Jason up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, Jason. Jason is which of the two are you and your friend? Because it's based on you and your friend.
I'm Trevor,
You're Trevor.
and my friend Troy is Jason.
Is Jason.
Yeah.
That's sort of a real life situation.
Actually, well, she his ex-wife was not a hooker. I just because she was his ex-wife, I kind of thought it'd be kind of cool to make her a hooker in the book, just
Okay.
because I was being, naughty, I guess. I mean, they are divorced. They are divorced. They have 3 children together.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, that is actually his wife, or was his wife in real life. Yes.
Interesting.
So
I'm
yeah.
sure you guys have some good laughs behind the scenes on that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. And actually, his son is the one that told his mother that in my book she was portrayed as a hooker, a high-priced hooker, and her reaction was not what I expected. I expected her to be really pissed about that, but she wasn't.
Hmm.
She says, "God, I wish I was making that kind of money now." Okay, we're just gonna drop that right
Wow.
there.
Well, I'm curious, what's your friend's relationship with his ex overall?
It was pretty rocky when they first got divorced, but they're actually, I guess the best term is amicable right now. I
Yeah,
mean, they're friendly. I wouldn't say friends, but they are definitely friendly.
got it. Yeah.
I mean, they do have 3 children together.
Yep. Yep.
So, he sees her more often than he would like, I guess, but they've got a fairly good relationship. Better than they did when they get divorced. I guess. Let's just leave it at that.
So
It's a relationship.
gotcha. Totally understand. Don't need to go
Yeah.
anymore. I
Yeah.
I relate. Um,
Okay.
what would you like to do in future books? What kind of situation, scenarios, things that are simmering in your mind? Anything that's kicking out there that hey,
Yeah.
like it's for example, I'd like to do I'd like to write a book where it takes place in the Caribbean. This is all
Mm,
hypothetical. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything like that?
Well,
Ideas.
I've got some ideas. Yeah. Because Trevor's an FBI agent, the sky's kind of the limit as far as what I can do with his character, because um, there are so many different scenarios that I can come up with for an FBI agent to do. For them to go after criminals and whatnot, or come after criminal types. So I could really come up with a lot of different storylines for these books moving forward. The book I'm working on right now, the third book, is it's starting out with that scare we had a 3 years ago with where the governors were being there was a
Targeted.
threat that the governors were going to be abducted. So I kind of went on with that, and in the third book, some of the governors of the eastern states do get abducted, but that's really only to get Trevor's attention. The person that's doing it is an old nemesis of Trevor's, and so he's just trying to get Trevor's attention. And once he's got his attention, he stops taking the governors, but he didn't give them back either. See, they're not going to. I haven't figured out exactly how they're going to end up to be found by the end of the book, but I will. Somewhere along the line, Trevor and Jason are going to find these governors, or he's going to force his nemesis to tell him or something. But I got other ideas in mind for their storyline as they get to the end of the book. I'm not done with them yet.
Hmm.
I'm on about the 7th or 8th chapter right now. And I'm looking at probably 24, 25 chapters when I'm done. So, and at some point, the 2 storylines are going to meet in the middle, and then there'll be one storyline to the end of the book. And I haven't decided yet where that's going to be, which chapter that's going to be, but it's coming up.
So
I mean,
I
I'm in the,
wonder, the whole writing process. Now, any accomplished author has a publisher, as you do. How often do they give input that influences what happens within the book?
well, for the first book, Incident at the Historical Museum, I got a lot of really good input from my publisher on that, because that wasn't supposed to be the historical museum. That was something else. And I was told by my publisher I needed to change it to a more generic name than what I had. And it was a noted museum in the DC area. So I had to change that to a more generic name.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't really get a lot of advice from the publisher. I will tell you that the publisher, when I send my books to the publisher, they have a panel of 5 people that actually read the book and decide whether or not they'll publish it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not, I send the book to my publisher and they just publish it. No. It takes about a 2-week period for them to decide to publish it. And if they don't, well, and I'm out of luck. But so far, they my first book they loved. The second book they loved even more. So they'll love my third book too when they get that. But I had no problem in that area. They approved it. All 5 the anonymous editors loved it, so they decided to publish.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that if they had a problem with, let's say, the third book when it's finished, that they would make recommendations that you could fix and then?
Oh yeah.
Forward? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, they wouldn't cold turkey say we don't like the book, we're not going to publish it. They would tell me what was wrong with it. And actually, I got to be honest with you, in my first book, when I sent it to the publisher for them to do their editing process to look at whether they're going to publish it or not, I was actually concerned about the sex scenes. I was afraid that they might. I mean, I've never written a book before, so I didn't know. I kind of thought that they might reject me because some of the sex scenes are rather steamy. And I was concerned that, oh man, if they're going to critique me on this book before they decide to publish it, what if they don't like my sex scenes or they think it's too racy to put on print? And as it turned out, they had no problem with that at all.
Wow. Well, I guess, in the big picture, that would be one thing where you could rewrite it and turn the heat down a little bit.
Yeah, I could always rewrite the sex scenes. I mean, in the first book, there are several sex scenes between Trevor and Jeanette. They're the only love interest really in the first book. I mean, Trevor does get enamored with another character around the 12th chapter or whatever, but the real love interest or love story in the book is Jeanette and Jason.
Despite I just want to go back to the love story. Despite her occupation,
right.
Is it genuine between the two of them that they connected? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They well, keep in mind that Jason didn't know what she did, and part of the process when Trevor hired her was you cannot ever tell Jason what your job is or what your career path is. So she never did. So as far as he's concerned, just a girl that he met in the bar that he really liked. She seemed to like him because she, had bad passionate sex with him that night. And she, they just kept in touch, and then they ended up going out, and eventually they became in love and decided they wanted to get married. But the fun part is that that Jeanette was too chicken to tell Jason at this stage of the game, because she was in love with him, he was in love with her, and she was too chicken to tell him what it is that she did or does or did for a living. Because at this point, she kind of, she only did her most favorite customers, I should say. I mean, I'm trying to think of a better way to put that, but she had her regulars, and so she cut out all the rest, and she just did her regulars. And you know, Jason still has no clue what it is that she does. So what Jeanette does is she contacts Trevor and says, he wants to marry me. I know he does. You know, he's got that look, and I have this feeling he wants to marry me. So Trevor's completely surprised by this. You know, like he gets mad at her, like, what the hell are you doing? This was supposed to be a one night thing, and blah blah blah. You know, gets in her face about it, and she cons him into telling Jason what it is that she does. Well, she's afraid that that's going to end the relationship if he finds out what it is that she does. You know, at this point, she's still doing regulars, but Trevor's telling her, you know, you need to stop doing what it is you do and get a real job, or just stop doing what you're doing, because it'll be a lot easier on Jason if you stop being a hooker, you know. And so he agrees to tell Jason, but then right after that, he ends up going to Quantico to get his FBI training. So he's gone for 22 weeks. So when they come back, Trevor is too busy with his new job to really sit Jason down and say, look, you're marrying a hooker if that's what you want to do. But he never did. So, and that was part of my design. You know, I wanted to keep that mystery going, you know, and the reaction is perfect at the end of the book. It really is. I'm not going to say what it is.
Okay.
But the end of but the reaction is pretty good at the end of the book.
So I tell everybody they can go to your website, trevorsadventure.com, and see more about the book. We're talking with author Larry Deiman. So what's going on with Trevor's relationship? So we have Jason involved with this Jeanette. Anything going on with him at any point, even, you know, up until the second book, maybe into the third?
In the second book, it's a little more apparent, but I decided halfway through the book that I'm going to turn Trevor gay, only because.
Now, which book is this? Which one?
The first book.
Okay.
So he kind of gets enamored with this guy that he meets at the historical museum, and actually he meets him in a dog park, because they both have dogs, and his favorite dog, Trevor's favorite dog, Jasmine, likes to go to this park because she's got a boyfriend. Well, this boyfriend happens to be the dog of the master that he kind of likes a lot, you know. So I don't do anything with that in book one. I really don't. But it's kind of like throwing that out there that he's interested in men more than women. I wasn't going to do that, but that was one of these ideas that my publisher came up with. Thought that, you know, maybe if Jason is very straight and he's falling in love with this hooker, maybe you should make Trevor the opposite of that. So that was kind of an idea that my publisher gave to me, that, you know, considering where we are in this century, and we're an enlightened people now, it might be a good idea to kind of throw that out there, you know. So in book two, or in book one, he doesn't really do a lot about that, you know, but in book two, he actually starts to get more involved with somebody on his team.
Gotcha.
You know, so I wasn't sure how to do that, but I came up with a way to make that work, you know. And they have this conversation, Trevor and this team member, Austin, and I stole that name from Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Couldn't think of a name, so I thought Austin sounds like a good name. So yeah, so they have this the Canyon Springs Wash, Texas town is like 4.5 hours north of Dallas. So at one point, I've got Trevor and Austin driving to Dallas because they have to take care of part of this issue with the Canyon Springs Wash murders. So they're driving by themselves to Austin, or to Dallas. So during that conversation, Trevor and Austin are talking about very vaguely about about their feelings for each other, but very vaguely. I mean, they're not getting anything that would be considered, like a sex scene or anything like that. None of that. It's just they're just kind of letting each other know where they stand or how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a come to Jesus type meeting between the two of them.
Yep.
And that's really where it ends. It doesn't really go any further than that. I'm just kind of throwing that in. Down the road, I might throw in, I won't throw in a full blown sex scene, but I might throw in a love affair down the road. Probably not in book 3, maybe by the end of book 3, but definitely book 4 will probably have them at least as a couple.
Isn't
now they're just,
as a writer, isn't this great that you can just change it? I'm going to turn the car. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
I want to get
that.
your head as a writer. How do you write? Like, okay, so you're on book 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, when you write a chapter or, even a couple of pages, do you block them out with thoughts and then fill in the rest? Or are you writing like you're going to be writing the final product?
I'm actually writing like I'm writing the final product, but I go in and I change a lot after I've written it. Like I'll write say chapter 3, and I've got this great idea for chapter 3, so I'm writing away, and I'm getting all my thoughts, and I'm writing the chapter, and it sounds good to me, but like in book 3, what I ended up doing was I came up with this idea in chapter 6, which totally blew 3 out of the water. So I had to go back and rewrite chapter 3 because I didn't like the way that chapter interacted with the other chapters going forward. And I liked the chapters going forward, so it didn't work anymore. So I with the first 2 books, I did that a lot, especially with my first book. I did that a lot with where I'd come back to it and decide I don't like that. I'm gonna make some changes. So I don't read the whole book until I'm done with the whole book. So for example, my first book took me 3 years to write. Well, so obviously I wasn't writing that book solidly, so I got hurt a couple of times, and I other things that I had going on, and I decided, or I stopped writing for a couple of months. Well, I have to go back and read what I wrote in the last 2 chapters that I wrote, just so I know where I need to go take off with the next chapter, right? I always try to end at a chapter, though, at the end of the chapter, when I know I'm going to be away from it for a while. So I came back to it, and then I decided, okay, I love what I did on this chapter, but now I don't like what I did over here. So I'll go back and I'll change that, and by the time I get to that chapter again, that's all changed too. So it's a process. It's really a process. You gotta, when you're writing, you gotta think about how your characters are interacting with each other, and how you like the characters and what they're doing in the book. And I want to keep the interest of the reader. So I've got to make things interesting and exciting along the way. And one of my old professors, who I stay friends with, he kind of told me, he says, just so you know, sex sells. And I said, yeah, I've heard that. Sex sells. So that's why there are sex scenes in book 1. But they are a little racy. And the publisher didn't seem to have a problem with them, so I kept them in. I mean, I actually thought about it afterwards and thought maybe I should make them as racy as they are. Sometimes you kind of get a little carried away, and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, but I ended up keeping.
You can always dial it back, if and you're not changing, you're not potentially changing the plot. You just, we get the idea.
The scene.
Yeah, but if the publisher was okay with it, they know a trend.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it. I mean, there are some racy scenes in it, but I actually went back and made a couple of those scenes even more racy, because I thought it's kind of boring what they're doing, And you kind of look at that, and you think about how that is going to be picked up by the reader, and you want to make it as interesting as possible. You want to keep them in their seats. And from what I've been told, book 1 people that picked it up to read it couldn't put it down. They're at the edge of their seat waiting for what's going to happen next.
Wow.
And then the same thing happened with book 2. They couldn't wait till the next chapter to see what's going to happen next. And that's what excites me, is that people pick up my book and they can't put it down because it's interesting all the way through to the other book. There are some lulls, where they're having dinner somewhere or whatever, there are some lulls in the book, but not a lot. There's a lot of action going on. And the second book, oh man, damn near every chapter is action packed.
So we have just about a minute left. When do you think,
Okay.
Wow, that went fast. When do you
It
think
did.
that you're going to be done with book 3?
I'm hoping by the end of the summer. I'm
Okay.
hoping that by August, September, I'll be ready to send it to the publisher. I want to do my final edits in September. Actually, I do want to do my final edit in August and hopefully get it to the publisher by September.
So does
That's what
that
I'm hoping
mean
for.
you're going to read the book?
Oh yeah, when I do the final edit, that's when I'm reading the book all the way through. I don't do that until I'm at the end of the book. And if I haven't come up with a title by then, I'm going to have to read the book anyway to make sure that I find a title that I'm going to be happy with. Once it goes to the publisher, I can change things up to the time that they start to actually write the book or publish the book.
Gotcha.
Because when it goes to the printers, I have till the editing process is completed to actually make any changes I want to. Once it hits, I give them the final approval. Can't make a change after that. It goes to the print shop and the printers actually start printing.
It's got to be very exciting. It's almost like a baby being born.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, for me,
baby coming in September.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And for me, the whole process is exciting. And writing the book is really a thrill for me because I have all these ideas of what I want to do, and I just got to figure out how I'm going to put them in and interact them with the characters. So I'm working on the 7th chapter right now, and I think I've got a pretty good idea where this book is going to go. So another chapter or two, the storylines are going to kind of connect, and then it'll be real exciting towards the end of the book.
So Larry, last time we talked, you were at 6 chapters, and you've only written 1. Step it up.
I know. I know. Is that horrible? Well, it was we just talked last week.
I know, it's a week. You only did a chapter. We want to get this done, and we want to see what happens in this book.
Yeah.
It's been great talking with you, author Larry Deiman, and it's Incident at the Historic Museum and Canyon Springs Wash Murders. And give the website again if somebody wants to learn more.
It is trevorsadventure.com.
Awesome. Well, good.
There are links all over that website where they can go and buy the book.
Yeah, actually, the website's really good, and it's an easy read as well, which I'm sure the book is as well too.
It is. It is. It's a very easy read. I'm told.
Especially the steamy scenes.
Yeah, especially the steamy scenes. Yeah.
All right, Larry.
Get ready for them.
We'll catch up again sometime soon. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. Take care.
Best of luck on the future chapters we got there.
We'll get there.
Okay. Thanks.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's It's going to be okay.